What's up? It's Quasi, and I'm back in Boston for school after a great Thanksgiving break. But over this Thanksgiving break, I've had the pleasure of working with Sunny from Personal Mastery Quest, where we both collabed on a video, a podcast-style video, bringing you our journey with the law of attraction, how we apply reality transurfing concepts, meditation, what practices we do every single day, and all of that, just to bring value to you guys. So we hope you enjoy it. Part 1 is on Sunny's channel. You can check that in the link in the description below. And this is part 2. So, without further delay, here's part 2. Enjoy and see you on the other side. I was reading one of the articles of Frederick Dodson. He's the author of Levels of Consciousness, which is a great book. But
Levels of Energy.
Levels of Energy.
Yeah.
Levels of Energy. And in his article, he shows this video of this Swedish girl who sings like a beautiful tune to attract cows, like a herd of cows, like an ancient tune that attracts cows. I'm gonna probably put that in the links. But beautiful video. Her voice is so beautiful, and it's just like she's singing, and instead of forcing the cows to like come to her, like bringing them one by one, she just stands there, sings beautifully. All the cows just gather around and like just come in front of her. And then in the article, he talks about how forcing something is like, I want everyone to think about it this way. It's like, let's say you want to attract a particular girl into your life, and you, at the moment, you can't attract that person. She's not attracted to you, but then you try to force it. Now, that's a very powerful, that's a very heavy connotation, because in this context, someone who's not attracted to you, and if you try to force it, that's akin to rape. That's literally akin to rape. You're trying to force something to come into your reality by like pursuing it, by making it uncomfortable. You're making the girl uncomfortable by like stalking her. Yeah. Right? But then if you become that attractive person,
exactly,
then the girl just comes to you. It's just, this is what the law of attraction was meant to be.
So you can't have what you are already not. Like, what you are is what you will manifest. So how can you be so dissatisfied towards your current reality? How can you hate your life and expect to manifest anything different? Because you are radiating hate, you are radiating this dissatisfaction, and that is exactly what you're just pulling towards you, and you're in this constant feedback loop where you're like, okay, how do I change? But the change, most people think it's like, okay, once I get this, then I can feel that different way. But the feeling always has to come first.
Give yourself permission to feel those good emotions that you would feel once you have that once that reality manifests itself. But the thing is, what I want to talk about again, Sunny, you talked about this in one of your videos. You said manifestation is a terrible word. Yeah. It really is a terrible word. And controlling your reality is also a horrendous word, and I despise it because it's just so inaccurate. We're not really controlling anything. We're choosing a particular reality. Yeah. And if you go back to even all biblical texts and all other religions, God gave us what? Free will. God gave us the power to choose. And that means the power to choose our own realities. So if we can choose our own realities, that means we can manifest a particular reality that we want. And when we talk about the reality transurfing model, we talk about parallel realities and how we are literally everything. Well, every single reality merged together, but we're only lighting up a certain sector of the alternative space because of the thoughts and the beliefs we're radiating and the frequency that's radiating right now from us. And once we change, once we know how to assume certain different polarities, then we can access the power of the wizards, if you will, and manifest that reality that we want to manifest. And that's basically what choosing your own reality is. We can use terms like control because it makes it easier in the linguistic sense, and it makes it seem more flashy, but there's nothing to control. You are already every single reality that can possibly be manifested. You just choose to identify with one and not identify with the others. There's a reality right now in which you're a king and you have everything you want. There's a reality where
you can tune into that if you start resonating the feeling, the emotion, the energy that you would be radiating if you already have that.
Absolutely.
So stop looking at this whole reality creation or manifestation process as like creating things in your life. You're not necessarily creating the exact experience, you're creating the emotions that you want to feel, and it will bring to you the experiences that will bring those emotions.
Creation, like I'm creating my reality. It's such an ego-filled word, you know? It's just like, I'm just choosing my reality.
We want all control.
Exactly. It's just our ego trying to, you know, be the man. It's just fueling our ego. But we just choose our reality, and God manifested, or infinity manifested for us. Nature manifested for us. We just choose, we resonate at that vibration, and we light up that sector of alternative space, which then manifested for us. Nature manifested for us.
Think about this process as you radiating a signal to universe, God, your higher self, whatever you want to call it. You're basically just radiating a signal, and that signal is determining what your next experiences will be, how the events of your life will flow. So once you start getting into that mindset, it is no longer the thing that you are doing. It's no longer just the action that you're taking. But while you're taking that action, you start to ask yourself, okay, what am I radiating at this moment? So you could be taking the craziest amount of action, something that really would help you achieve your goals. But if you're not radiating abundance, joy, love through that action, and the time you're taking that action, then that action won't provide you the results that you desire.
On this journey of trying to get harmony between the spiritual teachings that we get and like the law of attraction teachings that we're also getting, it's been difficult for me to align like all this David R. Hawkins stuff, like the consciousness level stuff, and like, oh, if I were enlightened, I wouldn't need anything. But then I also want to manifest certain things into my reality. I sort of like balance those paradoxes, because every single day you're trying to balance like paradoxes in life. Like none of it makes sense. It's just like, how can I want something but at the same time not desire it? How does that make sense? But then you start to get deeper and deeper into it, and you start to think more, and then all of these realizations, they happen on their own. And like the particular realization I'm talking about now is, once you get to a really high level, you won't need anything, because you'll already be fulfilled, and because you already sort of know that anything can be had as soon as you put yourself in you follow certain processes and feel certain emotions, right? And then we talk about levels of consciousness by David R. Hawkins, where there's like a spectrum.
Right.
0 to 200 is just the negative levels. 200 onwards is just positive.
Yeah, once you hit 200, you hit the level of courage, that's where the beginning of positive change. Right. That's the beginning of, taking action.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then you go to level of 600, and then the non-linear realm ends, which means, the linear realm ends and the non-linear realm begins, and that's where you hit enlightenment, when you're just completely at peace, at joy all the time. But then, before that level, you hit the level of 500, where you're energetically at such a high level that anything you think about just manifests into reality. Yeah. And you just radiate love everywhere. You look at the trees, they radiate love. You look at your phone, it radiates love. A glass on the table, a chair, everything just radiates love. And that's the kind of level I sincerely believe everyone in this lifetime can get to.
Yeah.
But it's just how we make that change.
Since we got pretty abstract right now, we're talking about things that we haven't currently experienced, right? Like, we're not nearly at that level, and most people on this planet are not at that level. So now let's get back to, because a lot of people want to eventually get to that level. That'd be nice, right? So what are certain things that you think people should implement into their lives right now to just begin this process, or just to keep moving forward and expanding their awareness and becoming more?
Right. So again, the law of energy is basically whatever you surround yourself with is what you become. And whatever you start to feel more and you focus your intention, whatever you focus on, you manifest more of. That's the law of attraction. So if we start to focus on becoming that high vibration person who radiates love, and like, what would that person do? You start to ask yourself, what would that high vibration person do? And again, if you're trying to do anything, stop thinking about doing and stop thinking about having, start thinking about becoming. Because everything in this universe is in the process of becoming. Nothing will ever be its ultimate self, because it's always becoming, and the universe is in the process of unfolding constantly. I'm just like getting super abstract here.
So in terms of, let's just say, the 3 things that you would recommend to anybody that they should do daily, or maybe a perspective that they should create in their mindset, What would that be to constantly make progress in this journey?
Okay, so I think the biggest thing for me was meditation, but then the thing I got out of meditation was not being reactive to everything. So I would remember back in the day, my parents would ask me to do something, and then they would stack on another chore on top of that, and I would just get so annoyed, and I would literally react. I would just react out of sheer annoyance. I'd just be like, no, I'm not doing this. And a year later, I'm just like, oh, okay, that's cool. I love them, I'll do it. This kind of shift happens as a result of your practices, so like doing stuff like meditation, but you can just start this kind of process even today if you just get in the habit of becoming so aware of how you're feeling throughout the day that every time a negative sort of feeling comes up, you surrender it. You don't express it. And when I say that I was expressing annoyance, I was reacting to that feeling of being annoyed. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't surrendering it. You could either suppress an emotion, you could express an emotion, you could repress an emotion, or you can surrender it. And surrendering is the most powerful way to
actually deal with the emotion.
Exactly.
The other ways aren't ways of dealing the emotion. Like expression keeps you in that vibration of the emotion, so it just prolongs your state in that vibration.
Bounces it around.
Suppression puts it underneath the surface, but it doesn't go anywhere. It just stays. And it actually operates through your vibration for the rest of the time until you deal with it. And the rest is what? Distraction?
Repression. Repression is basically suppression, but on a conscious level.
Okay.
So you're holding it back on a conscious level. But people will think that, okay, I'm annoyed now at my parents giving me this chore, so I want to react, but I won't. I'm going to repress it. But it's not really repressing it if you know the slight difference between repressing and surrendering. Once you feel that feeling of annoyance, you first hold yourself back from reacting. Sure, that's repression, but what you do is you ask for more of it, and that becomes your surrender. Once you ask for more of a certain feeling, it literally, the energy behind the feeling gets lifted, and that feeling itself just remains a energy-less feeling. It's a very subtle concept to explain in words, but once you start to practice this sort of surrender mechanism in everyday life, you'll see for yourself.
I basically look at it as this energy, and it could be anything, positive energy, negative energy, right? This emotion that is trying to flow through my awareness. So it currently, let's just say this is your awareness, this is you, right? And this emotion is coming from this side, and it hits you, and you have now become aware of something that you don't like. So it's bringing these negative emotions. Now you can either let it, like, deal with it, acknowledge it, and as a result of that, it will just pass through you. Or what most people do is, because we're never taught this throughout our lives,
it's so
we don't know how to deal with our emotions, so we either suppress it or express it, and since we don't deal with it properly, it just stays here, and it just gets buried underneath. And so what I really say all the time is, like, human beings are just a bag of emotions. We're just carrying this bag of emotions, and we're constantly just exploding at other people. You know, these emotions want to come to the surface, so they create experiences in your life, situations in your life where they can vent themselves. So the angry person will always find himself in situations where he constantly is getting angry, and it's not the external circumstance that's making him angry, it's the anger that's already within, trying to express itself. It's trying to, like, you know, just be done with it. The emotion wants to leave you, right? And so the person who's constantly negative is going to be in negative situations because the negative emotion is creating those situations. So once you really start dealing with these emotions and surrendering them, just acknowledging them, accepting them, and letting them be, the energy behind them dies, they pass right through you.
Yeah, I totally agree with this, because I had an energy coach who taught me for a while, and what he said was, when energy gets stagnant, then it's a problem. Energy should always be flowing, coming in, going out, coming in, going out. And once you you suppress those emotions that you haven't surrendered, those become dense pockets of energy that need surrendering and need flowing. And when they become stagnant, that's when you see problems posing in your life. And then we go to terms like excess potential. That's where the biggest energy block comes in, because you're starting to raise this potential, and then you create an instability in nature's field, so an inhomogeneity, and nature will act to balance this field however way it can.
So then that brings us, dealing with your emotions properly, just becoming aware of the emotions that you're having on a day-to-day basis, moment by moment basis, because throughout your day you might have a wide variety of emotions. And just becoming aware of that. You don't have to do anything about it in the beginning, just becoming aware, okay, I'm feeling this way right now. If you exploded at someone in anger, just become aware of it. Don't even start with wanting to stop that reaction, but just become aware that you were not able to control yourself in that moment. And what happens is once you start to just become aware, this awareness grows. So next time, rather than exploding at the person, what happens is that you catch yourself before doing it.
Yeah.
Because that awareness kicks in much faster this time. Before you were just being reactive. Now you can actually respond by not yelling at the person.
You become the silent observer.
And this works with everything in terms of, you know, all the negative emotions. Or even positive emotions. Even when you're feeling positive, acknowledge how you feel, how it feels to be aligned. And this awareness constantly grows, and it becomes more and more easy for you to acknowledge and stay at this state. So I'd definitely say becoming aware of your emotions, definitely very helpful in this journey. Another thing I would say, just to reiterate, meditation. A lot of people want to grow their awareness. It's like, okay, so how do I not react, right? How do I make it a habit to stay aware during the day? That's where meditation comes in. So yeah, you can find present moment awareness through multiple things, but just take 15 minutes out of the day and do classic just meditation where you sit down and you don't move and just close your eyes. Don't try hard to do anything. Just
listen to your breath.
Exactly.
Just that one thing that's permanent. That's going to be just like a permanent.
Where you can like feel the energy of your body. Just notice the thoughts that you're having. Eventually, that will grow into heightened awareness, where this thing is growing and then you're becoming more aware throughout the day. Those 15 minutes. It starts with the 15 minutes, but they extend into your day.
Right. Yeah. That's the big part about meditation is. You start to focus on that 15 minutes, but that's not enough. Because 15 minutes is just 15 minutes out of a 24-hour day. So what are you going to do the 24 hours of the day if you're not present and you're not in the moment? So then you get into that breathing awareness that you brought in during meditation, and you bring that into your daily life. So every single hour you start to become more and more aware that you are actually alive and that you can actually breathe. You know,
which is a blessing.
It's a crazy quality that only human beings have this. The quality of introspection, being aware of our own existence.
Aware of our own awareness.
Yeah, that's crazy. Also, going back to the 3 practices that I would suggest, technically speaking, you wouldn't even need to meditate if you could bring the quality of meditation into your life, which is basically awareness. But meditation becomes an exercise in which you sharpen this skill. So this skill becomes sharpened, and it becomes a powerful tool to change your life, to control your state throughout the day.
People compare headband LeBron versus he doesn't wear a headband anymore.
Oh,
so
really?
Headband LeBron was better or whatever. It's like same thing. It's like blonde hair Odell was way better, bro.
Damn.
Okay.
Alright, so right now we want to talk about specific manifestation experiences, but like also more on the lines of how we knew the law of attraction was working for us and what really got us into this in the first place. So Sunny, you want to begin?
First, I do want to mention is a lot of people ask me about law of attraction versus reality transferring, and it's funny because you have to understand that law of attraction is a natural law of life, and it's a natural law working in the background of your life at all times. Reality surfing is like a way of looking at life, or it's a philosophy, you could call it just a way of living.
A model.
Exactly, a model through which you go about life. So law of attraction is in a way part of reality surfing as well. So let's just, because I want to separate those two. So in terms of experience, I want to talk about just my journey in this whole personal development field and just growing my business and YouTube channel and everything. The way I always knew that it was supporting me, that everything that I was doing was like real and it works, is that at all times when I had no idea what to do and I had no idea how I was going to achieve a certain result, something always came to support me that enabled me to move forward. And so I'll give you a personal example. Like when I was just starting out this journey, I had no idea what I was going to do, right? And really what I did was I took this trip for like I think 2.5 months.
I think you told me about it.
Yeah, I took a trip.
Burned out all the funds.
Yeah, I wanted to just really figure out what I wanted to do. I quit my job and I traveled alone for a month across the country and just, got into a really mindful state. I took out all distractions and I really wanted to figure this out. But I had no idea what I was going to do. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But little bit, like step by step, just by following that one step that was presenting itself to me in the present moment, it always unfolded to me the next step of my journey. And
but that's before you knew about the law of attraction though, right? Or
this is when I was like kind of just very new to practicing it.
But you didn't know reality transurfing.
Oh yeah, no, not at all. And so
because that's a very deep reality transurfing concept. It's like letting life come to you.
Exactly, the flow of life, right? Is happening for you. And that's the kind of trust that I built through that process where in the beginning, I didn't even know I wanted to do coaching or I wanted to do YouTube at all. I knew I wanted a life of freedom, and I knew that I was obsessed with self-betterment and just reading and all this stuff, right? This philosophy. And so I just followed that and I just trusted life. And I was like, I'm just surrendering to the flow of life. At the time, I didn't consciously do it, but that's just what I ended up, looking back, that's what I did. And life always came around to support me. So just like a month ahead, right? Looking back at that process, that I was like, okay, well, I started a blog this month, or I survived my trip this month. Just understanding that when you have no idea how you're going to figure it out, life will always come around to support you and present to you the next step is like a big thing. I think one of the biggest law of attraction realizations you can make is that life will always come around to support you, and you will never just be hanging out there completely alone, isolated. But are you going to have the awareness, and are you going to be in the mental state that you're going to be able to become aware of the step that it's providing you? Are you going to be able to be tuning in to the gift that you're being given right now? And so I'd say that's like one of the biggest realizations that I made on this journey. It's just, okay, if I had no idea what is coming for me next, I have no idea what my next step of the journey is, just rather than getting into a mode of action, doing, take a step back, just become more mindful, become more consciously aware of how, like what's going on, how I feel, and just stay in a good state. Maintain your state, and the next step always presents itself to you, and when it does, you have the awareness to tune into it, to tap into it, to take advantage of it, and move on to the next thing.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. And also what I want to add to that as well is I was reading Sadhguru's autobiography, in which he talks about how he knows about his past lives. And this is very woo-woo stuff, so bear with us. And in his past life, he was reincarnated, but before he was reincarnated, he was this guy called Sadhguru Sri Brahma. And this guy was trying to achieve the same mission that Sadhguru achieved in this lifetime, which was to build a Dhyana Linga, which is a temple in which energy is so concentrated, you just go in, sit down, you kind of like get to a new level. Like it's just so energy rich. And you were talking about vortexes, like places where the trees are literally curved because the energy field is so strong. And also going back to this story, because his previous life, Sri Brahma couldn't achieve this feat, he couldn't understand why he wasn't able to. Every time he set out to build the Dhyana Linga temple, what happened was there was some sort of resistance from the outside, something was happening. So what he set out to do was, instead of looking outside of what the problem was, what he did was he looked within. Because anytime we aren't able to achieve results on the outside and manifest something on the outside, it's more often than not something that you're radiating, some quality that you're radiating. And this goes back to the law of attraction. But most of us, when we have a problem outside, what we do is we look at it outside, but really the problem is never outside. The problem is inside. Because what you manifest on the outside is a reflection of what you feel and believe on the inside.
It's funny, I actually just heard this the other day, and it really resonated with me. And the speaker said, I forgot who it was, but the speaker said, the extent to which you don't have something in your life is the extent to which you are resisting it. And when you just said, oh, it's something that is within that you don't have, or what'd you say, the exact words? Is that the problem is within? So the problem isn't like the actual you, right? Because the actual you is abundant, is free-flowing, is allowing, is happy, is joyous. And so the problem, that the real you is not the problem. The problem is the limiting beliefs that you have picked up, the false, like the negative programming, the layers of
dirt limited, and social
the limited worldview. That is what is not allowing this light to shine through. That is what is blocking this manifestation, and that is the resistance. And so really the whole process is getting rid of all those layers, and so getting to the natural state where you radiate that and you don't resist anymore.
As an example of that, let's think about this. It's like you feel anxiety and you feel depressed. What is the first thing you do? Go to the doctors. What's the first thing the doctor prescribes you? Some medicine, right? So it's like you take a pill and you're supposed to feel better. But it's like your light bulb is broken, but you're trying to fix your car.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. The problem is clearly within, but you're going outside and you're popping some pill that's supposedly going to make a change within. So you're trying to fix a problem that's interior, but you're trying to hammer something that's outside of you.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't make sense to me.
The resistance is within, which creates an obstacle without, but we try to alleviate the signal on the outside, which is, it could be like a pain, it could be a problem that we try to solve. So we might solve the external problem, but the cause still remains. So it just creates a similar problem of a similar problem, or a different problem of a similar nature is what I was trying to say. And so it doesn't lead to anything good.
And also a lot of the times we're just projecting whatever we feel within. So the outside reality is a projection of what you feel within. And as I've talked about that before, Frederick Dodson goes really deep into that when he says, David R. Hawkins goes deep into that when he says, whatever level of consciousness you are at right now is what your reality is going to be. So as an example of that, if we consider a homeless man on the side of the street, if we're at the level of 200 of courage, let's say, let's start off with, let's say we're at the level of below 200 where we're at apathy. We're going to consider the homeless man to be whatever we're feeling. We're going to think, oh, you know what, he also doesn't have opportunities in life. Oh, another person like me. And then you just walk off. And then you're at the level of anger, when you're angry at the homeless man for being out there. Like, you're taking up the space in the street. You're basically you're projecting whatever you're feeling. And then you go into higher levels of love, and you're just like, well, wow, this homeless man, he's struggling out here. I just want to send him some love. And then you give him some money, or you just feel some loving way about him, towards him. And that's basically how, whatever you feel within is what your manifestation of reality is. That's how your perception is going to get tailored.
So if you want to get into a state of allowing, now, if someone was to ask you, okay, they have a hard time creating the change that they want in their lives, and so they're resisting something, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you figure out what is the resistance within? How do you figure out how to deal with that? And
that's the $1 million question. So we know from our studying of law of attraction and all of this spiritual stuff that we do that resistance is the biggest thing, right? So if you want to get rid of resistance, you must first identify where you're resisting it. And that goes back to becoming super aware of how you're feeling throughout the day. Because odds are, something you're resisting, it's going to manifest itself in your energy body. At some point during your day, some point during your week, and once you become very acutely aware of it and how you feel throughout day to day, you'll find that one thing and you quickly catch it and you surrender it. You basically, once I've started to scan myself in my interior day to day more thoroughly, I've found that there is this one thing that's always coming back, one pattern that keeps repeating itself. And you'll see that in the morning you feel a certain way, in the afternoon you feel a certain way, at nighttime you feel a certain way. There's always a point in the day, absolutely. Like midday I get a little bit slumped.
Me too.
Like, there's a great book on it called Time. I forgot by who, but he talks about how we become super creative and productive in the morning, and then there's night owls who get that same state at nighttime. But throughout midday, everyone gets a little slump.
Yeah.
But then it comes back up. So it's just these repeating patterns that we're not seeing because we're not observing our state of being.
And I also think a way to start allowing and find that resistance within you is take a piece of paper and a pen and really write down the recurring patterns in your life. Okay, maybe it's you constantly getting into relationships where you're not treated well, or you always being like the number 2 guy in your friend group, or like a person that is always made fun of, or just a constant recurring problem that doesn't matter how many years it's been, it's always just recurring, right? Write down all those recurring patterns and figure out what are the feelings that are associated with those patterns. So like, let's just say your friends always make fun of you, and no matter where you move or whatever, you just find another friend group that just starts making fun of you again. So find out how you feel when they make fun of you, right? Or and what is the desired emotion? What are you trying to seek from those friendships? And then ask yourself, like, when have I desired this before, or when I have felt this before? Keep going in your past. And what happens is, like, when you start asking yourself those questions and you're truly trying to like dig in deep, a lot of past memories start to come up. It's like that show you exactly an earlier instance where this kind of thing happened, and it programmed into your mind like that's your vibration, and you just hung on to that, and it's creating these patterns on loop in your life. So it's like the same desired emotion which brings you to the situation, which because you're vibrating that lack, it just creates that kind of same situation, which then brings you that same result, and then makes a stronger desire for whatever you're trying to get out of it.
Right.
So one of the things really to become aware of those resistances is to dig deep by actually asking yourself the tough questions. What are the recurring patterns in my life? What do I not like about myself? What have I always struggled with? Why am I not succeeding in the way I wanted to? And just being open to any answer that comes up, because something will come up from your subconscious, and just follow that, because more and more answers will come up, and then you can deal with those, acknowledge them, and just release them.
And one more time, I want to emphasize that action taking is not necessary. Contrary to popular belief, you don't have to take action. Like, your ideal reality could literally just fall into your lap, and I know how absurd this sounds, but it can happen, and it's entirely possible. The only reason it's not happening is because you're not believing it's going to happen. That's why it's not happening for you. You think that taking some sort of action is going to make your reality in a certain way, and it's going to help you manifest the ideal reality you want, but that's not the case. It's because you believe that taking action is going to manifest that reality.
Yeah.
And that's how your reality plays out. So if you just could shift your belief into something like, well, I don't need to do anything, I could just sit here and just go with whatever feels right. And if by chance, if you get the feeling that you should do X task or Y task in order to get that reality that you want, then X and Y task shall be done.
That's really the crazy part of that thing about reality. It's like, okay, as soon as you introduce the intention and you firmly believe, you expect it that it is going to be fulfilled and it's going to come true, that's all you need. So you don't technically need any action. But the reason we really take action is because we don't strongly believe that those things will manifest right away. So, because we're not at that level paradigm, right? So the action helps us to believe that it will come true. And so it's not necessarily the action that's bringing it into our lives.
It's the belief behind the action.
Action is just helping us build a firm intention, which is what creates that change in our reality. Okay, action is just like that step that we need in order to build the will to have that thing in our life. And as soon as we build that will, thing manifests instantly.
So what I wanted to ask you was, how do you build that firm intention, that firm will? How is that done? Like, what's one way you would suggest to do that?
I think that in the beginning you truly do have to you have to take loads and loads of action. Not like forcing anything, always taking action from a good state of being, but taking action regardless, because you have to build yourself up to the point where, first of all, you are willing to take action, because a lot of people aren't even willing to do that. They just want to kind of dwell within the desire. Once you are willing to take action and do what is necessary to achieve your goals, then you are already a step ahead. So you have that willingness to act. Now, how to build the willingness to have? As you are constantly acting, right, by the willingness to act, you are taking consistent action towards your goals. What happens is that you build this kind of personality, you build this kind of belief within yourself, your self-esteem improves, you become more abundant in nature on a deeper level vibration, where you start to build this trust in life that, okay, what I want will happen. And it's because you're, at that time, you think it's going to happen because you are doing the right things, but really it's going to happen because you have built that belief that you are that it's going to happen. But in the beginning, it has to happen with action. It has to happen with discipline. And once you build discipline, what you're basically doing is taking power from your ego, bringing it back to the self. So your life is no longer a free-for-all. It is you actually being in control of your life. So now you have the willingness. There's willingness in your actions. The action makes you eventually over time build that mindset that, okay, what I want will come into my life. And then at that mindset, you have to take less and less action for those things to come in your life, because you build this trust in life where it's like, okay, I want this and it's going to happen because it has happened in the past. And so the mind just needs proof that it's going to happen, and you get that initial proof through taking action. Eventually, once it understands that in the past this has happened, so it opens itself up to the possibility that it's going to happen again, this time with less action, and that's exactly what happens. So it's an interesting process, but action is definitely very necessary in the beginning. But keep in mind, it is not action that actually manifests the result. It is the intention that becomes firm, and that expectation that you build through taking that action.
We've been socially conditioned to believe that action is what brings your reality to you. The more action you take, the more likely you're going to be successful. But that's the belief that's actually doing the work. So that's why I also agree that action taking is important, because it's to the extent our society has conditioned us to believe that action is important.
In reality surfing terms, you could say that there's inner intention and outer intention. And inner intention is basically your personal will, your personal will to take action. And through action, what you're really doing is you're trying to force a change in the world. Right? You're trying to impact external reality through your personal will. So that has very limited power, because it's hard to impact and change the world. What is more powerful is outer intention, which is
basically the basis of law of attraction.
Exactly. That is really true intention, right? Which allows the world to organize itself in a way which is just aligned with your expectations. So that is a powerful state that you want to get at, where you're no longer just trying to force a change upon the world, but rather that you just, maybe you desire something, or you tend to create something in your life, and you firmly believe that the world will manifest that as your reality. And what it does, it allows the world to organize itself in such a way that it makes that your reality.
Okay, so that's the podcast. So thank you guys for tuning in today. And this is Sunny from Personal Mastery Quest. I'm giving him a shout out. Check out his channel. He has crazy value.
Thank you. Also, let us know in the comments below what you would like us to discuss in these types of videos going forward. I'm sure we'll be making a couple of these.
Yeah, this is going to be a regular, definitely.
Any questions that you have, anything that you want us to discuss, any concept, anything that you have a difficult time understanding and implementing into your life, just put it in the comments below and we'll be sure to cover it.
And also remember to join our Facebook groups. Sunny has his own Personal Mastery Quest support group. I have my group. It's going to be in the link in the description below. So we'll see you there and interact with you on a personal level. So thanks for watching. Until next time. Peace. Okay, so that was the video. Thank you for watching, and we hope it was of value to you. Remember, part 1 of this video is available in Sunny's channel, which is in the link in the description below. If you haven't checked that out, go give it a check out, give it a like. And also, we would love to know what you think of this kind of video, so leave it in the comment section below, because we're planning on doing this from now on. And we would also love to know how your journey with the law of attraction was like, when you started, and rough patches and all that. So leave that in the comment section below as well. Again, thanks for watching. We're growing a massive Facebook group, so give that a check out in the link in the description below. And we would love to interact with you on a personal level. So see you there, and thanks for watching. Peace.